you wonderful people, and welcome back to Mental Health Mondays. I hope you are all well. I took a short break over the new year from YouTube just to look after myself, and I'm back and I'm feeling so much better for it. Anyway, I thought I would start 2020 on YouTube with a video about BPD. For those of you that don't know, it's what I'm diagnosed with. So I had this idea, I can't remember how it came about, but I really wanted to do a video on the most googled questions about BPD because I was really intrigued to see what people are searching. I always say for people not to Google BPD, and I personally don't do it, so this was definitely quite eye-opening to me, and quite funny as well. Like, you've got to laugh at these things, don't you? So yeah, I'm just gonna go through the most googled questions about BPD, and I'm going to give my answers to the questions. So let's get into the video. Okay, first question. This was at the top, and that was, is there a test for BPD? BPD test was one of the main searches that people search for. Like, when I googled it, so many tests for BPD came up. You can probably see by my facial expressions what I think of those, and obviously, like, it's good to have an idea of what you think you might have, but please don't use these tests to self-diagnose. BPD is a very, very complicated mental illness, and a quick online test will not be able to tell you whether you have BPD or not. And the top search for this was a test on Psycharm, and the questions are so leading. Essentially, it lists the 9 symptoms of BPD, and then it says, do you feel like that's true or false? Well, I mean, obviously people are going to click true for all of them. So you click true and voila, you're diagnosed with BPD. No. I just would really encourage you to go to a mental health professional, and they're going to have to see you a good few times before they're able to come to the conclusion. Next question. What are the 9 symptoms of BPD? This was in the top Google searches. The thing is with BPD is that there is like a strict criteria, but there's like a criteria, and if you tick 5 out of 9 boxes, you're generally diagnosed with BPD. So these are fear of abandonment, unstable relationships, unclear self-image, impulsive self-destructive behaviors, self-harm, extreme emotional swings, chronic feelings of emptiness, explosive anger, and feeling out of touch with reality. So if you have BPD, you might feel all of these, you might feel only 5 of these. Like, BPD presents itself differently in all different ways. Okay, next question. Is BPD a serious mental illness? I think all mental illnesses are pretty serious. I mean, obviously, depending on the severity, like, mental illness is life-threatening. But I guess because BPD has a lot of elements to it, and this whole self-destructive behaviors and the mood swings and the anger can make it very dangerous for the sufferer if they don't have it under control. It never really goes away. Like, it can never be cured, it can only be managed. Your moods are all over the place, the suicide risk, etc. And it has to be treated with therapy and medication. You can't really go out of it, although your symptoms might, lessen over time, whereas other mental illnesses, depending on the severity, can be tackled without therapy and medication. Okay, do people with BPD have mood swings? And then there was another question under it which I wanted to answer. How long do BPD mood swings last? So yes, mood swings. Your emotions are like a roller coaster when you have BPD. A way I used to describe it, I don't know if this is very helpful or not, but it's like a condensed version of bipolar. Most people know what bipolar is, and so people with bipolar tend to have longer periods of depression and then mania, whereas I feel like with those with BPD, that gets condensed down into, like, your moods can swing hourly, they can swing from day to day, or weekly, and your emotions swing between so many different extremes of anger, fear, depression, and mania. What triggers a person with BPD? Oh, okay. I guess it depends on the person, but I think on the whole, well, for me, relationships are a massive trigger. When I was diagnosed with just anxiety and depression, I really didn't understand why there was, for me, such a huge emphasis on relationships. Like, relationships were everything to me. And rejection, that's another one. Rejection was huge. Abandonment comes alongside that, whether it is perceived abandonment or actual real abandonment. And I guess being in a place that brings back negative memories, or hearing a song or a smell or anything like that can trigger you. Okay, another top Google question was, are you born with BPD? This is actually a really interesting topic. Like, I've never really looked into this because I've always been of the assumption that it is kind of childhood events that trigger off BPD. And so I did more research into this to find out what the experts say. And essentially they've said that there's not just one thing that causes BPD. There are 3 different things that they put it down to. So genes, brain abnormalities, and environmental factors, and they kind of all play into each other in the development of BPD, but there's not one like this is what causes BPD. So with genetics, it said that studies show anywhere from 49 to 65% of the development of BPD is genetic in nature. Some people are just born more sensitive than others. Some people may feel emotions more strongly than others in general in life, but still that doesn't mean that you're likely to develop BPD. The next one is brain abnormalities. Whether people with BPD are born with different brains or the changes in your brain are as a result of the disorder isn't clear. However, the unique characteristics in your brain can apparently determine whether you experience BPD or not. And then the final one, this is the most common one, is your environment that you grow up in. And this is when BPD is usually linked to trauma or to abuse in someone's childhood. The next question that was Googled quite a lot was, can you have BPD without childhood trauma? There is this assumption that everyone who has BPD has experienced some kind of abuse. However, I mean, this wasn't the case for me. I experienced multiple different traumas in my childhood, but again it comes down to how people react to it, because what's a trauma for someone may not be a trauma for someone else. And the thing is, like, a lot of people will have gone through trauma, you know, as just a general process of growing up. I didn't really get a definitive answer on this, but it seems trauma in childhood does play a big part, but like I said, most people have experienced that anyway, so that doesn't mean that everyone's gonna develop BPD. Okay, next question. Can you love someone with BPD? And then there was another one that came up in the searches. Can people with BPD love? Yes and yes. I mean, yes, it might be hard to love someone with BPD at times. I know we do make it difficult, but I think absolutely, like, ask my ex. And as for can people with BPD love, just because people with BPD have trouble controlling their emotions doesn't mean that they don't feel them. When I first saw this question pop up, like, I've never even seen this, and I was like, oh my god, wait, can I feel love? Is what I'm feeling real? And then I was like, I mean, obviously it is, especially at this like stage in my recovery. How do you deal with BPD in a relationship? And I'm guessing this is people who have partners with BPD that are Googling this. So my personal tips from experience from being in a relationship with BPD are: number 1, communicate. So important. Like, when you first get into the relationship, you need to explain to them what BPD is, what it is when you're struggling, what it is they need to do. For the partner, don't take on your partner's problems to the point where your life gets difficult. Stay calm even when the person with BPD is acting out, because likelihood is with me, like, I'll act out and then I'll realise what I've done, and reacting in a negative way is only going to make things worse and escalate. So be sympathetic, because with BPD, small things can escalate and seem like big things very quickly. And finally, talk about things other than the disorder. Don't let it take over your relationship. Can BPD be cured? I did a whole video on this. The general consensus is no, it can't be cured. However, you can live alongside BPD with virtually any symptoms. It's like a chronic illness where it can, you know, lay dormant and just occasionally flare up, but if you've been to therapy, if you've done the work, you'll know how to deal with the flare-ups. What is the best medication for someone with BPD? So we didn't actually know the answer to this, and I guess everyone is different. Not one medication is gonna help everyone with BPD. Personally, I've never been on any mood stabilizers or antipsychotics for my BPD. I was on venlafaxine, propranolol, and then clonazepam and diazepam as and when. But according to the internet, a lot of people with BPD are on mood stabilizers. I don't know why I was never put on them. I don't know. I've never even heard of this one, and I've got BPD, so I probably should have. Topiramate, is that right? And I've heard of lamotrigine are the most common medications for BPD. That's what came up in the top Google search. So clearly, I need to do more research into it. Well, you can comment down below, any of you on these medications. Do people with BPD lie? I mean, everyone lies in life. I guess the thing is, with the symptoms of like impulsive behaviour and people with BPD, I mean, I'll be the first to admit I can be very manipulative, but at least I recognise it. You can lie and manipulate people, so I guess it's kind of a thing with people with BPD, but I wouldn't say it's like a disorder where you compulsively lie. There might be reasons why you do lie, but I don't really think that this link should be drawn. I don't think this should be a top Google search for BPD. But there you go, it just goes to show how out of touch the internet is with BPD, and this is why I make my videos on BPD, because I want to show you guys that people with BPD are not abnormal and that you can live a normal life with BPD. So I really hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you've got something from it. Please do leave me a comment down below and let me know what you thought, and I will see you in Thursday's video, and until then, goodbye.